short answer
Yeah.
about it, but I'm just living probably like I want to.
That's good, Fred.
I'm living my own life, I think.
That's good to be that old as you are, and can live like you want to. That you couldn't ask for nothing else better than that, Fred.
I've thought about it a lot of times, Bobby. There's a many one that ain't as old as I am, can't live like he wants to.
Yeah. Boy, I sure wished I could have growed up back when you was growing up and back in them woods.
Well, just tell you the truth, you know you got a good education, you know more than I do and all.
No.
But I'll tell you one thing, and I bet money on it. I could have learned you a lot that you never learned.
I know you could, Fred.
I ain't bragging on myself, Bobby.
I know.
Don't think I'm just. I've learned you like a lot of things like that.
You know, we had.
9 chances out of 10. If you'd have been me, just say, friends, me and you boys together, went a turkey hunting, I'd have had you grabbing before the summer's over.
Yeah. Grabbing them turtles out in one of them rocks.
Yeah.
Them banks.
Bangs.
Yeah.
Before the summer's over.
When me and you was talking about the branches and stuff, back when you was growing up, they run clear, didn't they?
Oh yeah, this is clear.
The banks.
It take just to have to come just a gully washer to even muddy the creek.
Yeah. I believe you said you grabbed a seine. You had you a seine back then when it come up.
Yeah, me and Wade Gaze and George and Dwight, we'd hit the creek. Come on, the rain.
Seining for fish.
Yeah, of course, seining.
I believe you said you got eels too. You don't see no eels anymore.
No, I ain't seen the eel in years. Last eel I caught, I caught on the bend of the pond just below the rock house where buckshot weighed 3 pounds. That's the last eel that
How long ago's that been?
That's been, I'll say, 50 years ago.
50 years?
Around 50 years ago. Me and Bird Denny, you might have known Bird here tell it.
I heard tell that, I didn't know it.
Me and Bird is fishing. And about the time I caught the eel, we was fishing right together. Bird went to leading a great big old turtle on his hook out. Fishing one night.
Yeah. You know, I guess I was about 40 years old before I ever eat any turtle. And I guess I about cried, Press, because that's something as good at eating as I've ever done.
You ain't a kid. Did you ever eat any groundhog?
No. I've eaten beaver. You know, boys was trapping beaver back up there on Hunting Creek, and they were skinning it, and I asked them, could I have a hindquarter? And they said, yeah. So I brought me a hindquarter in, and Doc cooked it for me, and it's about like beef.
Yeah.
But groundhog, what's it like?
It's just about like what I'd call, it's just a little bit sweeter, but the best I can tell you, it's just about like a pork, regular tame hog. You know how one will dress about 150 pounds of taste?
Yeah.
Won't taste like that old.
No.
Well, that's just about the way of a groundhog. And you catch a young one, and say about half grown, and fry it just like you would a young chicken.
Yeah.
I swear you got something good. Or you can take an old, parboil them good and tender, and then bake him. Got you some good eating. And coon's good eating too.
Uncle Z liked coon. Boy, I remember my Uncle Z, you know, Pop's brother,
Yeah, I know.
my grandpa's brother.
Yeah.
He liked to eat coon, boy.
And they were both born the same year.
Is that right?
Yeah. Me and Z were born the same year, and me and Z and Sally Cook was born same year. And I reckon Sally, I reckon she's still living.
You know, I don't know. She might be.
Did you ever know Hope Johnson?
Yeah, I know.
That's Hope's wife.
Yeah.
See, she married Hope Johnson.
That's Lecter Weatherman's brother, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I forgot what I was going to See?
Talking about that eating coon and
Groundhog.
groundhogs,
Yeah.
possum.
I expect I've eaten a dozen, got more than that groundhog since I've been living here. A groundhog hunted a lot since I quit hunting squirrels. And talking about squirrels and things, there ain't many people know. Me and Clarence Wallace has killed, get out of a Sunday and get about a minute squirrels. More than the average man can go hunting and hunt all the week just through Sunday. We get out of a Sunday and get as high as 12, 15 squirrels. You may not believe that, but till you live and he tell you the same
Well,
thing.
you shoot them or
No, climb a tree, run them out, and knock them in the head.
climb a tree?
Yeah,
Run 'em
climb
out?
a tree. Go to a den and just climb the den. And scare them out. If you got out and run on them, scare them out. And I had a dog, you may not believe that, but when she treated a squirrel, if you scare it out, if he ever hit the ground, she'd catch that squirrel just like catching a biscuit before he hit the ground.
How about
And her name was Queen.
Her name was Queen.
She was crossed up. She was red bone and she was a good one. And she was a real possum dog too. And you know, you see squirrel holes in trees like that.
Yeah.
Well, you know you couldn't climb that tree and run a switch down and twist a squirrel out, don't you?
I've heard of people running a switch down there and twist that thing around, catch it in the fur, and pull it out.
Yeah, but it'd be a hole up here where you could run down, straight down there.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about, just like
Little hole.
about as big as that heater there, you climb up on and just 2-inch hole right side on the tree. You know, you can't warp a tree
Well, that's right. Yeah.
and down in there. Then I could go up there and run every squirrel out of that tree that was in it.
How'd you run him out of that hole?
I bet you couldn't guess in a month.
Smoke him out?
No. I climbed that tree with a half a gallon of water on my back and just pour all that water in there and they'll pour out just like you.
Just pour that water right in
Just
that
pour
hole.
out and they'd go to pouring out and this one come out, you know, I'd grab him and hit him over the tree and throw him down.
I've never heard tell of that.
Right over here just below where Thomason lives, right out there in them woods. It was over where and it went up and then it went over sort of like a rainbow, bent over up there and it hole right on top. Me and him went along one day and I claimed that one Sunday we was out over. And you know I killed five squirrels and I got every darn one off.
Who told you that trick? Old people?
No, I never, I just learned it.
You learned.
I learned it just I learned it by accident, Rick.
Yeah. Well, you got to thinking about that squirrel, how he hated being in the rain, and that water, he'd hate that water, wouldn't it? So if you pour water in that hole, he's gonna come out
And
of it.
I can tell you, the first squirrel ever I run out, you go, turn off where it's St. Paul and go right down through, like you're going down a Macy's.
Yeah.
And there's a den right there on the left of the road, the way the old road used to be. I mean, George Cummins was hunting one day and run one in there, and I climbed that tree, and I twisted to give out, and I couldn't get him out.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to George, I said, George, I ain't gonna let him out, dummy. I said, I'm gonna aggravate him more. George said, what you gonna do? I said, I'm gonna piss on him. So I went to pissing, and my God, I hadn't got started good till here come a squirrel. Now, that's exactly, I said,
Yeah. Well, I mean, there you go.
that's the dying truth, that's the word I learned. And then after I learned the other, I go, well, I've got it all made now. I can take me a jug of water with me and just climb a tree. I done my back in. Didn't bother me climbing.
I never thought you wasn't gonna let that
Well,
slide,
and
did you?
tell you the truth about it,
Yeah.
I never thought about it, but I thought aggravate him if I just pissed
Yeah.
on him and aggravate him. But I didn't, just got started good, and man, here he comes. And I know if I'd run him out, I know what to do.
Yeah.
run out, I
Yeah.
never thought.
That's the way things happen though sometimes. You know.
Now, that's the darn truth up there where I know it.
I don't doubt it a bit.
George coming. George said that beat anything he'd ever seen. He was old up here, I guess. I was about 17, 18 years old, and
Yeah.
something up in the teens. And George, I guess George 50 years old. And George said that beat anything he ever seen. That's what
Lord, I tell you.
go. Just like I said, if you'd have been with it, like Wallace Ford.
Yeah.
Wallace lived in more Wallace did. I learned him a lot of tricks.
Well, you know,
He had hunted all his life, just like I had, but he
never learned that trick.
never, a lot of tricks he didn't understand.
Yeah.
A lot of them,
Yeah.
See, in a way, it just seemed to me like that I was just a natural born hunter.
You bound to inherit a lot of that desire and knowledge from your grandpa, that Indian.
I believe it, yeah. I believe it, I did. I believe it, I believed it all my life. I used to hate for them to throw it up to me,
Oh,
when
yeah.
I was growing up. I thought you hear them tell you, how mean they wasn't killing people, and
Yeah.
then think I was, but shit, after I got up and realized what it was to live and let live,
Yeah.
I never thought nothing about it. I think, shit, that's all over with.
Yeah. But you know, the Indian wasn't as bad as they made it
Yeah,
out, was.
that wasn't as bad. But when you're a little fella,
Yeah.
young,
Ah, yeah. Everybody aggravating you and teasing you.
teasing you about that, and you don't know where it's so or not so, and
I can understand that.
I didn't either,
I can
But
understand.
the older I got, the more I learned, and I understood it. I was just as well off if a fellow wasn't a bit akin to him.
Just that.
That's the reason I believe it. I was always good at handling dogs and everything like that. And going.
The dogs understood you. You understood them. You thought like they did, and they thought like you did.
Yeah.
That amazed me. You tell me about being able to bluff them old big bulls out too. Joel had told me about that, and yeah, he told me about that, and I was wanting to hear you tell me, when we talked back in the summer about bluffing them big old bulls out, pulling your overall jacket up over your head, and boy, I tell you, I doubt if I'd have had nerve enough to stood there, Press, I'd have had to run. My feet had never stayed still.
Well, I'll tell you, and it's the truth, and you know it. You've got to have more nerve than the bull has to do that.
Yeah.
If you ain't got more nerve than he's got, he'll bluff you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I always thought, and I've been active in my life. When I wanted to move, I could move.
Yeah.
And I've always had it in my head, and I still believe it. I wouldn't now. You couldn't get me in the pasture of a wild bull now.
No, you couldn't move quick enough.
But I always thought now when he got down and when he come, I'd just step over and go on by.
Yeah. He couldn't turn as quick as you could step over.
And he come straight,
Yeah.
Time he reared up, I'd be, and he couldn't turn. He had to pass me.
Yeah.
And I was out of his way, let him go.
Just watch them horns, wouldn't it?
Just watch them horns. I always figured I was quicker than he, bull was. And if you got the nerve, you are quicker. Lose your nerve, you might get scared so bad you couldn't get out of the way.
Yeah. Freeze up right quick for an
Yeah,
instant,
he
and
was
it's over.
bad, you went. Yeah. But I always figured I could step over to one side, but I never did have to step over to one side. Now, when there's them two, I was a little Jewish then. I didn't know where I could dodge both of them, and not if they know.
Yeah, if you got two bulls coming at you at the same time, now you're in trouble, ain't you? If you can't dodge them both.
I was very bad trouble. But I never lost my nerve.
Yeah.
But I thought it all over, that I had to keep eye on both of them.
Yeah.
And see which way.
You talk about them bulls too. You was telling me the other night that back when you was a young fella, you was trying to train a young steer or bull to where you could ride him.
Yeah.
You remember telling me that the other night?
Yeah.
Well, would you tell me that again? About how you was riding that bull?
Yeah, that's what. And hung my foot between his arms.
Yeah.
And drug him into the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how come my legs throwed out of place.
The first time.
First time.
What was you doing? Riding him?
I bought me a yoke of steers, young steers, and I was breaking them and working them, and I was breaking them to ride like a horse. And I've been riding them, but that day I was carrying the water and going down the hill. You ain't never been where I was raised at.
No.
But it's pretty steep from up there, even the house down to Springs, but back then it's pretty steep hill like that. Cause we'd get out when I was growing up and it come snowing and things, we'd get out there and get us a plank and we'd ride on down. Lay it down, sit down on that plank and ride, you know. Well, just about the time I got even to the house, and the house is about far from Springs from here out, and it might be a little further than that. He just hooped up, you know, and I got over where I went. Just pitched me right over, and when I went over, hung my foot between his horns, and he never stopped. He headed for that watering trough, and he drug me from the heart at the watering trough. When he threw his head down to go to drinking, I got my foot out.
No wonder he hadn't trampled you, would
He did, yeah.
Stepping on.
He did. Well, there wasn't much change to that the way I was, you know. I had my foot up in between his horns and kind of walking on one hand.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It wasn't just, but I was going on just like he was dragging. In fact, the matter, I wasn't just down or dragging on the ground.
Yeah.
But the man is to catch, but I couldn't get my foot out between his horns.
Well, when you got loose, what'd you do?
I went over to right above the spring, just like the spring is right over there, and there's a 3-4 maples there. And there's a bank run out there just about as high as that chair, and about as big around as just a flat there, about like they sat down, laid my leg up on that bank and took both hands, go wham, knocked it back in place.
Yeah.
And I just about do something my britches I just didn't hurt. But when it went back, it was all over.
Yeah.
Next time I got it through that place, I believe it was a long time ago. I was logging it, tripped me. Log hit something, and I don't know how it happened. But it come around, you know, I was walking over the side, and tripped me, and throwed it out of place. And Bob come along.
That's my grandpa, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was laying there, and I just laid my foot up on the log like a cat. Bob comes down, and I put her back in place. I went on low. Right down in the pasture below already, where is that?
That's back what? Back in the teens, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
19 and...
I guess it was
20
about
or...
1917, 18.
Oh, 1917, 18.
Yeah, I guess it was. Long back then.
That old leg has had a right smart of problems,
Oh,
ain't it?
God, man.
Well, Prince, wasn't you ever scared out in the woods at night of maybe falling and breaking a leg, or did you ever think
Never
about
thought about getting hurt nor nothing. Out by myself, and I've thought about it since I got old.
Yeah.
And climb a tree 50, 60 foot high for a possum. And me just by myself.
And the dog's waiting down at the bottom.
Yeah, at the bottom.
Well, if you got hurt, the dog eventually might go back to the house, but nobody'd ever know what direction you was in, would it?
They know. Most of the time when I went hunting when I was growing up, I'd tell my daddy and my sisters where the boundaries I was going to hunt, and I think if I'd ever fell and hadn't went in, they'd went to them territories I was hunting in to find to hunt me, I figured.
Yeah.
But I never thought nothing about getting hurt to tell them, you know.
Well, that's always been a cardinal rule with me. If I was going out by myself, which I'd done a lot back in them mountains outside of home, and around, I'd always tell somebody or leave a note where I was going,
Yeah.
so as they'd know which way to come looking if I didn't come back.
What are you going to do? Always, you know.
I believe you told me one time too, you fell up in a tree, a holly tree, wasn't it?
Yeah, a limb broke in the holly. I guess I was 30 foot from the ground. And limb broke when I got on. I reckon it must have been a dead one. I don't know. I was swinging up and a gap in there. I fell and broke about 3 or 4 ribs. Fell right down. I didn't go to the ground. I caught on the limb, but see where I fell.
Yeah.
I fell right on that side.
Boy, it took a wind out, didn't it?
Gosh, it did for a little bit. You know, after I got straightened up on that limb, I had to sit up for a little while before I go on down the street.
Well, did you get your possum out?
Yeah, I done got my possum.
Oh.
Done got my possum and had it thrown down. Dogs taking care of my possum for me.
Yeah.
I tell you, that's the only hurt ever I got out of hunting in the woods. And I didn't fall for it, but there's space on it. There wasn't no limbs. I fell from that down through that empty space and hit that limb just hit me across me. It didn't seem like I fell so hard, but I felt hard enough to break my rib. And I fell the last, I couldn't tell you, it saved my life for the last 5 years. How many times I fell before I fell here in the porch, just out here in the yard. You know.
Yeah.
I fell on Friday before Anna died, but I coming from with a bucket of water in my hand and it just struck me as I went to make it, fell on right across that road that runs out across the way I was going. And broke about, I had about 4 or 5 ribs broke off when Anna died.
Oh my God. That was your second wife, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been pretty lucky, hadn't you, Press?
Oh shit, I've been double lucky. Well,
I mean, living in the woods 2/3 of your life, hadn't you?
I've been lucky in getting by, yeah. Well, I'm honest and believe it, I have lived around 2/3 of my life in the woods.
Yeah.
So many.
That's remarkable and it's wonderful. And that's why I admire you very much, because as you say, you've enjoyed your life, haven't you?
Boy, I couldn't enjoy it any better. No. If you taken out of growing up the way it happened, everything was, you know, when I was a boy, I got big enough to hunt. Well, after fall of the year, they always try to get in enough wood to all winter.
Mm-hmm.
The crop was gathered in.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a thing to do from then on till you started the crop the next spring but hunt if you wanted to.
Yeah. And
I hunted. I'd put in full time from then to spring of the year I hunted.
Full time. Snow, rain, sleet.
Plenty of time. Yeah.
I was reading a paper the other day that a fella back up in the north, he got caught out in the woods, and he said if it hadn't been for his dog, he'd have probably died. That dog slept with him, and he got up close to that dog at night and kept warm.
You don't know how different it makes a dog.
You ever had to sleep with a dog out in the woods?
No, I never have, but I've been to where I let the dog sleep in the bed with me.
No kidding?
No, I had a little dog I got that slept with me just as regular as sleeping with a woman.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I've heard old people talking and read about it. They call it a 3-dog night or a 2-dog night. It take that many dogs to keep them freezing to death out in the woods.
You wouldn't believe it unless you tried. And it was just a little dog.
Keep you warm, wouldn't it?
God, let him get up. If he had to get up and get out, God, you'd miss him just like if he was in bed with somebody and get up and go.
Is that a fact?
It's a fact, man. I had treat you a car. You're not too small and pretty good size. But not too straight down there. She slept with me every night. Just the same as somebody. If she didn't, I got to where sometimes I'd tell her, you can't sleep with me tonight, you have to lay up there with the heater. You had a heater and good warm and fire died down in the heater. She come sleeping, I could feel it. Raise the cover and crawl in, you know, just as easy as get around. When it began to get cool now, she just come. And I always left the door so when she was out, she could come in.
Yeah.
She was in, she could open it and go out. And when she get up, take it a cold night, get up and want to get out and pee or something, you know.
Yeah.
God, I'd miss that dog. Now that ain't no joke.
Yeah.
But I thought the world of that dog, and that dog thought the world of me. I could talk to her just like me and you are talking, and I believe she understood every word I'd say to her. I could just walk out down the yard if she'd have lived down like she was, then I could just walk out down the yard. Two boys I could. Say, hop on, cheat sheet. She'd land on my back just like on my back. And she'd go with me over yonder, plowing, bogging and stuff. And she'd ride that tractor all day with me till she'd get tired, and then she'd get off, and when she'd get off, she'd follow me around, and just the very minute I stopped, back on the tractor she would.
Yeah. She liked to be with you, didn't she?
Yes, she'd tree squirrels, tree possums, groundhogs.
I had a feist dog one time that I really liked. Little feller, he treat squirrels real good. And
Yeah.
in fact, he's about the best tree dog that I'd had around up in that way. I didn't have many dogs, had a few beagles. But I
Well, you take a dog like that, it's better a squirrel dog than a hound is. Take a good hound, you know, in the squirrel business. He good to trim, but he attacks you. You can hear him barking all over the gun, and every squirrel is going home. It'll take a little dog like that. He don't say nothing until he gets to the tree and tell you where he's at.
Yeah.
And I don't scare the squirrels like a big dog barking. You know.
Oh yeah. An old mountain man back in there above home told me how to train that little old dog.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you how he told me, and I want you to see if he's pretty well. But the dog turned out right. I couldn't complain about the way the dog turned out.
Yeah.
That fella told me, he says, now when you go in the woods with that dog, he says, don't kill that squirrel. He says, bark it. Shoot there and right under him and knock him off of that tree, or wound him enough to where it gets him on the ground, and let that dog and that squirrel fight. And that dog is going to try to whoop that squirrel if he can. If it's a big squirrel, he's going to have time on his hands. Well, I done that, Press. I got lucky. I took a dog back in the swamp and up in there, and I got lucky, and I found me a squirrel, and I shot and just crippled him just a little bit. And that squirrel hit the ground, and that dog and that squirrel fought, I bet you 15 minutes. They was in the branch, and they was back out on the lane, and the dog finally got it.
Yeah.
But from then on, I didn't have no problem with that dog.
No, that's a good way. You always let one catch him and let him fight it out.
Yeah.
And it seems like the more you fight, the better your dog gets.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, like a lot of people, it's too big a cow to fight.
Well, you're going to find out what kind of dog you got, ain't you?
You'll find out in the hounds, a lot of them now wouldn't have done that squirrel.
No.
Wouldn't have did it. Hound dog.
Boy,
I had a hound one time and caught a squirrel, and the squirrel bit it, and I never get that blamed dog to take a hold of the squirrel and was dead there living.
is that right?
Oh,
Well,
okay.
that little feist, that squirrel nailed that little feist inside of the lip
Yeah.
and hung on, and that feist had himself a time shaking that squirrel loose. But that never stopped him. So I figured right then that little old dog would be all right.
They just natured to fight.
Yeah.
That breed of dogs that's their nature to fight.
I got that dog from Uncle Z, from his bunch of little feist dogs he had over there.
Yeah.
And I was hoping to make a squirrel dog out of it, because I like squirrel hunt pretty good.
Yeah.
Dot's daddy, my daddy-in-law, he'd let me go with him a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And he was an old mountain man as a squirrel hunter that wouldn't quit too. He shot him through the head. He didn't,
Yeah.
when he was a little single shot 22.
That's the way I try to get in a hunter to their rifle.
You mess up the meat if you shoot him through the body, don't you?
Well, you just tie them all pieces with a bullet.
But I've never thought about climbing them trees like you were talking about and nailing them squirrels.
Come out and just grab him, you know.
You have to be careful. Boy, them squirrels can eat your hands off, can't you?
Oh, yeah, but you had to be, that's what I said, I've always been quick. Maybe.
Don't lose your nerve.
No, when I'm most scared, grab him and I wouldn't pick up and pull a stick out.
Yeah.
I knocked anyone in the head on the side of the tree up.
Drop him to the ground.
Drop him down, Clarence and get him.
Yeah.
We always have a dog with.
Well, your dogs was trained, once they killed a squirrel or a rabbit or something, they drop it, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They wouldn't fight over it and eat it,
They
or...
wouldn't fight over it and they wouldn't eat him. No. Yeah.
You know, I've seen people have dogs that you wouldn't
I'll
dare...
tell you, I got it when they go, I've hunted with people that had dogs, and if it had been my dog, they would have just shot him. If they caught a rabbit and he got it, he had gone with it, and that's, Clarence had one himself. If he ever got a hold of a rabbit, that fool would run and get away and eat it. You never get it back. You just
That dog ain't no good, you know.
I've been so mad at him, I peppered his tail.
Shot him and peppered his tail good time. But you know it ain't gonna break him, is it?
No.
Dog like
But
that.
I've been so mad because I didn't want the rabbit, but I just hated to see him taking over like that.
Yeah.
Oh, while I was living down here, I had, I think, about 6 dogs. Man, I had some good ones then. And I had one, his name was Jake. I bought his name was Jake and Rusty. I bought them. So we down at the other side of Robertson's Mill, Sloan boy. And that dog, I'd go hunting. And I believe I know 5 dogs then. I seemed like I had 6. But what I was going to tell you, I go hunting with him. And I could shoot a rabbit, or if you'd have been around me, you could shoot a rabbit. That dog was the first in doing it. If he wasn't, he'd be the second. And he'd take that lame rabbit away from every dog that was there and bring that rabbit to me. He'd come to me and drop it at my feet. He wouldn't run off, he'd bring it right to you and drop it at your feet. Just like a bird dog retrieves.
That's a good dog, Bobby.
Oh, yeah. I got out, decided I sold them to a colored fella in Harmony.
Speaking of colored fellas, was there many colored people that lived in this territory up in here when you was growing up, Fred?
Wasn't none.
Wasn't none.
No, I'm not looking for any colored people come in this neighborhood. There wasn't none lived around here. But there's an old fella, Charlie Dobbins up there. There's an old house back from, you might say go right back this way on the Lee Weldon place from where Max already store. There's an old house with a wall with it. Old colored fella lived, and that's about all there was anywhere.
The territory.
Yeah. Old man. Charlie Dobbins was his name.
There was probably people that had been freed from slave days, wasn't it?
Yeah. Old. Slave people. There has been many colored people in this neighborhood in here.
Right down yonder on 21, they call Carson Town. That's about as close a place this side of Harmony, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's many colored people
That's
around.
about the closest place that was, and when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Our Carson down. That dog I was telling you about, you know, me while I was hunting and catching the 3 and 10 possum, I sold him when he was about a year old to Carl Downs. You know Carl, I guess, here till I lived down at Harmony, a cow buyer. Carl Downs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about now. It took me a while to figure it out. It's been a long time
He
ago.
was a one-man dog to start with at a time. Him and Jim Sharp. I guess you see Jim Sharp down if you ever go down by Farm Center, you see one-legged man.
Yeah.
Come and got him. Jim was scared to get out of him. And he wanted to buy him. I'd had him a 3 and possum. Good. Finally he said, I'll give you $60 for him. I said, and I had over here. All right, I said, well, I'll let you have him. So, dog was with me. They loaded him on. Carried him on. Wrote me out a check card. It was $60. And next night, Carl waked me up down here. Won't know if I'd see anything on my dog. And of course, I'm satisfied with what happened. He took him home, put him in the lot, and said he got out and he didn't hide in the world. He couldn't find no place. And he got out, and I said he's gone. Well, I could see through that just right then. When he took that dog in down there, some blame niggers went to steal the dog and opened the gate and he run out and he was gone. That was the last of the dog.
Yeah.
I told Carl that's what's happened. He said he had never thought of that. But you know, about 10 days he come in down there at Charlie's and scratched on the door.
Come home, man.
My dog did. Come home.
What'd you do? Call the man, tell him to come get him?
No, I didn't. When he got back, it hurt Ruby. She thought as much time as I did.